Salutations, people! Welcome to Page 3 Killers, Murders That Went Unnoticed, a podcast where we dive into the murder cases that went unnoticed by our nation's newspapers.
Hi, Shay.
Hi, John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys. Welcome back.
Welcome to Page 3 Killers, Murders That Went Unnoticed, Season 2, Episode 14.
Yes, and we have a pretty good one this week. I feel like I should have saved this for, like, January of next year when we do Season 3. But,
You can't match up the time of the year for everything.
yeah, I know. And this case was just too interesting, and I really wanted to do this one. So we are going to be talking about, it's called the Bellevue murders or the Bellevue Massacre. And this takes place in Bellevue, Washington. See, I actually thought we were talking about the Roxbury murders, and I'm like, we already talked about we did the Stride-Right Roxbury murders. And I was like, oh, yeah, no. So I gave you a false lead on that one. So, yeah, we're doing the Bellevue Massacre. This case is really interesting in the sense that the cops actually move pretty quick on this. I'm not going to kid. But some of the players in this are interesting.
I believe you.
Yeah. So, to start us off, do you want to do our shoutouts?
We have Ralunk, Chelsea, and Stacey.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for donating on Patreon. If you guys out there want to be one of our prime suspects, you can donate on Patreon. Just hit us up in the link below. But if you can't afford to do that, all we ask is that you like, share, and subscribe.
Just tell people about us.
Yeah, that always helps. So, yeah, definitely do that. Now, we're going to roll into our news. So, this takes place in 1997 at the beginning of the year. So, this whole thing happens, right after Christmas and New Year's is when this whole thing goes down. So I picked news from like February and March because oddly enough, not much happened in January of 1997 that was interesting. That would have, I don't know.
I feel like 1997 was a largely quiet year.
It was. Whereas like I was just doing a script for an episode that we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks. And I was like 2016. And that was, that's pretty recent. I mean,
6 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, it's not that long ago, but
I was just thinking, just stuff I was growing up with, like in high school and college. It's all like when I think about that, kids that are like 12 and 13 were like when I was 12 or 13, I was thinking about like 1985.
Yeah.
And I'm just like IROC Z Camaros and like big poofy hair and hair metal. I go, that's how far back like my childhood was.
Wow.
Compared to today's kids looking back at my childhood, which is me looking back at.
Yeah. Like my goddaughter is like, I'm changing my style. Okay, so she's a total tomboy usually, like loose t-shirts, jeans, Vans or Converses. So that was her style up until this year, and now she's like, oh, I'm gonna do bell bottoms and like the 90s preppy look, and I'm like, what?
I didn't think bell bottoms were gonna make another comeback.
I know. I was just like, no, we killed it.
Yeah.
We drove that into the ground. All I'm begging is for them not to bring back low-rise jeans. Like, the worst idea ever made was low-rise jeans. Other than these short shorts for men.
Well, that's already making a
That's
comeback.
got the 5-inch like inseam or like the 3-inch inseam for men. Oh my god.
Well, like 7-inch inseams are like super popular right now.
Oh. Okay, keep it at 7. Don't go to any lower, dudes. Just keep it at 7.
I'm
Nobody,
at like a 20-inch inseam.
nobody, yeah, nobody wants like your ball sack hanging out of your shorts because they're that short.
I just go with the baggy basketball shorts. That's my style.
Yeah. So, like I said, we're gonna do the news from 1997. So to start us off, so super big for any like motorcycle stunt rider fans out there. We had on February 8th, we have motorcycle stunt rider Corey Scott is killed in front of a crowd of around 30,000 spectators at the Orange Bowl Stadium in Miami, Florida after a stunt goes terribly wrong.
I mean, is there really any such thing as a stunt driver fan? I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but of the 30,000 people, I'm going to say 500 are fans of stunt driving. The other 29,000 people just wanted to watch this guy die.
Yeah.
Just to crash.
They were just like...
Maybe not die. They didn't want him to die, but they wanted to see him crash and get hurt. And it happened.
Yeah. And I bet everybody was like, oh no, like, oh.
Well, I mean, you don't, as a spectator for live events, you don't know what's going on. For all you know, that was part of the stunt.
Yeah.
And he's not hurt. Or he's just hurt and he's not dead. It's really kind of hard to tell what's going on.
Yeah. So the next thing on our list. Okay, so this was like oddly a popular thing. So the Phoenix Lights, March 13th. We have the Phoenix Lights are first seen over Phoenix, Arizona. Do you know what the Phoenix Lights are?
No idea.
It is a series of unidentified objects, flying objects. I know what they are. Most likely test planes being used by the United States government that they're not going to tell people are flying. But I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And
Those are planes they're using to take the cocaine or bring the cocaine over the borders.
Yeah, you know. To make dropping the heroin off, right? Oh, we got Kitty. Yeah, so we have the Phoenix Lights, and this is like a barrage of like live time phone calls from police officers, fire department, regular citizens, all into like 911 that are seeing these lights over Phoenix, Arizona. So yeah. It's a pretty crazy event. I feel it was... Some people actually did see something, and I feel like it was a test plane or an air balloon or something like that. Whereas, like, there's a group of them that I feel like it was just mass hysteria. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, on March 26th, in San Diego, California. So, I love me some cults, right?
Speaking of mass hysteria.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good segue into this one. So, we have, in California, the Heaven's Gate cultists, 39 of them, decide to commit mass suicide at their compound. Do you know about these guys?
Yeah, I listened to a whole podcast about this guy. He was slightly more even nutter butters than like most people even realize.
Yeah.
Ever since he was in his early 20s, he'd been going around like trying to infiltrate churches and claim that he was like the next coming of Christ.
Okay,
Like he would legitimately just show up to a church and try and convince the people, like one of the tent churches.
Oh yeah.
Like down south and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And literally just show up and try and convince the people there that he was actually the next coming of Jesus and to follow him. And he would just like barnstorm and like crash all these churches.
Interesting. Was he the guy that met his wife? She was a nurse at the insane asylum that he was locked
Yes.
up in. Yeah.
And likely she wasn't. She may have been a nurse, but she likely wasn't working. If you catch my drift.
Oh, so she was in there like for help. Okay.
Yeah. Because they were both just nutter
Nutter
butters.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I don't know what it is about it. It's a nice way of saying insane.
Yeah. Do you want to read the next one?
I guess so.
I thought you might like some government cover-up action.
The United States government acknowledges the existence of secret war in Laos and dedicates the Laos Memorial in honor of
The Hmong.
Hmong and other secret war veterans. It is associated with the Cambodian Civil War and Vietnam War, with both sides receiving heavy external support and a proxy war between global civil war superpowers.
Yeah, the Cold War superpowers. Yep. So
I didn't think we ever actually acknowledged this.
yeah, we did on May 15th of 1997.
Huh.
How many years later?
That would have been when did we start bombing Cambodia? 70 mid-70s.
Yeah.
Call it. So you're talking 20 years.
Yeah.
That's actually a short window.
Yeah.
Yeah, we swore up and down we were not in Cambodia.
We're like, nah, it must have been some other plane flying a U.S. flag on it. Nah, couldn't possibly be us.
Well, because had we gone into Cambodia, we would be the ones committing war crimes.
Yeah.
Which we were. And by we, I mean they.
So we waited 20 years to say that we did it. Yeah. Sounds about right. I mean, well, there's governments that probably haven't admitted half of the things that they've done, so.
And I feel like that shouldn't be Laos Memorial. I feel like it should be Laotian Memorial. But.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that was it for our regular news. Now on to our seedy side for 1997. So we're going to start off with February 5th. So we have a Santa Monica jury finds former football legend O.J. Simpson liable for the deaths of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. So I believe this is not the trial. This is like the civil.
Yes. So this was the criminal trial. He was found not guilty.
Yeah.
And then he was sued for wrongful death, and they were all like, "Nah, you did it, mother trucker."
Yeah.
Now, of course, the burden of proof is significantly lower
yes.
in civil court,
Mm-hmm.
but still, it was like a slam dunk case.
Yeah. And you're just like, I still can't believe that the DA and the cops just botched that. It was clear cut.
Yeah, the Kardashians, they ruin everything.
Yeah.
That's where it all started. With the dad.
If the glove does not fit, you must acquit. And that was the other guy.
That was Johnny Cochran.
Yeah,
that was
Johnny Cochran. That was
OJ's
pretty,
lawyer.
Yeah.
One of OJ's
I mean,
lawyers.
that was pretty. I mean, if I'm ever going to be on trial for murder, Johnny Cochran's the lawyer you want.
Listen, he gets a bad rap for being like boisterous, but he's a very, very good lawyer.
Yeah.
And he knows exactly how to maneuver around a courtroom.
Yeah.
And he took advantage of all the mistakes that the other people made.
Yeah.
That's all he did.
Like a lot of these like really good trial attorneys are definitely like that, super boisterous. Like I was watching a series and the guy was like, the attorney for the defendant was like this super laid back, real southern kind of dude, and he's like talking to a bunch of these southern local people, and he just like, well, you know what, this case is a slice of Swiss cheese. And they're just like, yeah, okay. He's like there's just holes all through it. He got that guy off I was like, damn. And then he's like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if it looks like Swiss cheese, it is. It's like, what?
But they all understood. They knew what he meant.
Yeah. So, yeah. And he ended up getting, I can't remember who the defendant was in what case, but it was so interesting. And I'm going to have to look that up because it was really good. He was hilarious. So our next one is February 10th. The U.S. Army suspends Gene C. McKinney, Sergeant Major of the Army, its top-ranking enlisted soldier, after hearings of allegations of sexual misconduct. So yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of sexual misconduct going on
yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
But it's not until it's found out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure I had some senior enlisted members who would not be senior enlisted members without some sexual misconduct going on.
Yeah, I can just imagine, especially in the Navy. I mean, I get, yeah, the Navy I would understand a little bit more because you got per man, you probably got less women per man on a ship.
When I was in, it was roughly 1/3.
Yeah, which I mean, then every woman has her pick of, the guys.
Well, not just that, but
yeah. So yeah, I can get that. But yeah, it's something that's, would you say, runs rampant among
yes.
military service? Yeah.
Yes, I would.
Yeah. So do you want to read the next one?
Sure.
I can enlarge it so you can
Now,
see
the
it better.
1997 Empire State Building shooting. A gunman kills one person and wounds 6 others before taking his own life in the observation deck of the Empire State Building in Manhattan, New York City.
Yeah. I never knew about that one.
It's because only one person died. It's not considered
a mass shooting.
A mass shooting.
Because one person.
Well, no,
died.
It's considered a mass shooting.
But it's not.
It's not
a mass
not
casualty event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Empire State Building. Yeah. Now, the next one you probably would have found even more interesting.
FBI agent Earl Edwin Pitts pleads guilty to selling secrets to the Soviet Union.
Yep, on February 28th. Also, that same day, we have the North Hollywood shootout. 2 heavily armed bank robbers conflict with officers from the Los Angeles Police Department in a mass shootout. Yeah, this is crazy.
That one's awesome.
Oh my god, the video from that is insane. You guys can see it. I believe it's all up on YouTube. But
yeah, you can find that video, live leaks, wherever.
Yeah. I mean, you can watch it. It's kind of crazy. These guys, 2 guys, big muscle dudes, like, don't even know if they're roiding out or not, but they kind of look it. And just, yeah.
Well, they had bulletproof vests on, and the cops, when they first arrived, didn't know that or understand that.
Yeah.
And they kept on shooting them, and like,
and they're not going
they're
down.
like almost unfazed by it.
Yeah.
It took, I believe, a headshot, and then the other guy got hit in the knee, and they got hit somewhere else. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And like, these guys just knew it. They were all, because cops are trained to go center mass. So everyone was shooting center mass, and these guys were just standing there, like they're like RoboCop or something.
Yeah, and it was like a super crazy thing because I believe it was on live television.
I don't know if it was live or not. Yeah, it was live because there was helicopter footage.
It was helicopter footage that I saw. Yeah, so it was like pretty much live. So on March 9th, for our any music fans out there that are, into like would it be gangster rap scene?
Yes.
Yes, into the gangster rap scene.
You're the whitest human being ever.
I know.
We're going to talk about the gangster rap scene. Is that what they call it? The gangster rap scene?
Well, you're super into like listening to this, Like, I would have just called it rap. But, like, I was, like, looking at a thing, and apparently it's, like, a subgenre that's, like that early rap.
Early to mid
like
2000, or early to mid 90s.
Yeah. And it's called gangster rap, and I just wanted to confirm that with you.
Anything you can crip walk to.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have 24-year-old Brooklyn rapper, the Notorious B.I.G., is killed in a drive-by shooting shortly after leaving a Vibe magazine party at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles before the release of his second album, Life After Death. The album is released on March 25th.
How ironic.
Yeah.
He was only 24 years old?
Yeah, 24 years old. Can you believe that? Oh my God.
I thought he was older than that.
I thought he was like in his 30s.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, wow. I couldn't believe, and he's like,
or at least like late 20s. I didn't realize he was only 24. Oh man.
Yeah. And I mean, well, you had before this, you had Tupac, right?
Tupac was 96.
Yeah, 96 was Tupac. I mean, there's been a series of these.
Wait, was it Tupac first?
I thought it was Tupac first, and then Big. Or Biggie.
I love how you're like, oh yeah, then it was Big.
Yeah, Big.
This gangster rapper. Big.
Yeah.
Like you listen, you know it.
Whatever.
Mo money, bro problems.
I'm not a huge rap fan. Like, when I was in high school, I was into like heavy metal. Like, well, not like your.
See, you say heavy metal to me, and I'm just like, nah, you listen to soft rock.
I was like booty metal.
You like butt rock.
Butt metal.
It's butt rock.
Yeah. So I was like kind of into that. I was not into listening to like Tupac or Biggie or, I did like Eminem in high school because everybody loved Eminem in high school, which was really weird because I think it was like.
It's because you're racist.
Well, no, it was different from, like, it was the same, but it was different. And then he did a movie. So it was after he did the movie that I listened to him. So,
okay.
Yeah,
sure.
I saw the movie. Well, I think it was 8 Mile. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I bought that CD, and that was the first CD I had for him, but I was more like Alanis Morissette. Linkin Park. That was the kind of stuff I listened to. So I really didn't listen to rap or anything like that. And then I got into reggae in college.
I like reggae.
I like me some Bob Marley. Yeah.
Name one other reggae artist.
Oh. What's Bob Marley's son's name? Reggie?
That doesn't count. Listen to some ska, some old school ska, some specials.
Listen, so on Facebook,
some like old school Operation Ivy.
I like signed up for like, it was a fan page. I didn't realize it was a fan page. We are
way overdue on our actual episode. I think we should just cut straight to the point. All right,
yeah. So let's drop in. I'm not gonna kid. One of the suspects' last names I did not look up. I mean, I did not look out the pronunciation of their last name. So if I butcher them, I apologize. But we're gonna get into this. All right. So, the Bellevue Massacre starts off right after Christmas, but we're going to start right now on January 4th, 4 days after New Year's, right? or 3 days after New Year's, 4 days after New Year's Eve. So in 1997, now two young boys are at the park in the Seattle suburb of Bellevue, and they're playing in the park, and they spot a pile of what they think is clothes in some bushes / leaves, like in a pile. Okay.
It was not clothes.
Yeah. So the next day, on the 5th, when they returned to the park, they realize that the day before, what they thought was clothes was not clothes. That it is actually the body of a woman. So they run home to their moms, of course, and their mothers report their findings to the Seattle Police Department, or the Bellevue Police Department. Now, the Bellevue detectives, they come out to the scene, and they find the body of a young woman. Now, this young woman is dressed pretty nicely. She's dressed in blue jeans, a white t-shirt, and waffle stomper boots.
Please explain to me what a waffle stomper boot is.
I have no idea.
I'm looking this one up.
I was thinking that it's along the lines of a oh my gosh.
I'm partially scared to put in
Doc
waffle
Martens.
stomper into my phone because, like, who the heck knows what this is?
I'm pretty sure they're Doc Martens. It would make sense for the kind of people that she hung out with. But they Doc Martens?
No, they're ugly.
What?
They're like bad Doc Martens.
Yeah, like they're like hiking boots almost.
Yeah, hiking boots is the best. They're fancy hiking. They're hiking boots that you would never take hiking.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Seems about right.
For people who want to look like they go hiking, but can't be bothered to actually do it.
Yeah. So shortly after her body's found and they start investigating, they do identify her as 20-year-old Kimberly Wilson. And she is identified after the police locate her ID. I'm not sure if her ID was like in her pocket or in a purse or anything like that. That was not mentioned. But they did say that they located her ID with the body. Now, she appeared to have been involved in a struggle, and had died by strangulation. There was a cord that they found wrapped around her neck. Now, Detective Gorms, who is heading this investigation, his name is Detective Jeff Gorms. He said that he was not excited about visiting her family to notify them of her death. So he gets to their home. He knocks on the door at the front of the house. And this is like a nice house in like middle class suburbia.
Yeah, Bellevue's a pretty nice place.
Yeah, so it's a white 2-story wood frame house, like a really nice house. So he knocks on the door, gets no answer, which he thought was kind of weird because there's 3 cars lined up in the driveway. The interior lights are off, but the Christmas lights outside are still on. So he, knocks again, no answer. So he decides he's going to walk the perimeter of the house, see if there's any, disturbance, or see if there's another door that he can knock at. So he goes around, starts walking around to the back, and he finds a sliding door. Now, I found 2 different reports. One said that the door was open. The other one said that the door was unlocked. So I'm not sure which one is true. I feel like, listen, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make sure I close and lock the door. But it's a sliding glass door, so, well, I know the trick to opening those, but. So he, knocks at that door. No response or anything like that. Now, so he slides the door open and he calls out inside to see if anybody would respond. And nobody responds. So when he hears nothing, he, you know, finds it suspicious. So he draws his firearm, his gun, and goes into the house. Now him and his partner, they systematically go through the house as they would, and they check out upstairs, assuming that, the family was just sleeping through their knocks, I guess. And what they discover on the second floor is pretty terrifying. So everything is covered in blood. So there's blood splatter on the walls, the ceiling, and the first person that they find is the body of Rose Wilson, Kim's mother, in the bed in the master bedroom. Now, she had been stabbed multiple times in the throat, and her head had been crushed by numerous blows from a heavy object. Now, near the foot of the bed, officers find the body of Kim's father, William Wilson. He went by Bill, and he was found with similar injuries. Now, the body of Kim's 17-year-old sister, Julia, was discovered in the hall. Now, Julia appeared to have struggled against her attacker. One of her arms had been broken, and both her head and her neck had been stabbed multiple times. So, yeah.
So I wonder why Kimberly was not there.
Yeah, Kimberly was dead in the park.
Well, yeah, but I wonder why she wasn't. Like, what are the random chances that two different people decided to kill people on basically the same day?
Yeah. So
it was probably connected, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So at this time, there's not much to go off of right now. So what they have is Kimberly dead in the park, her family dead in their home. What they don't know right now is who died first and who did it. And they don't know the sequence of events yet. Now, the Bellevue police and the detectives, they began interviewing the neighbors regarding any suspicious activities or noises, and asking for any information on potential enemies of the Wilsons. Now, William worked as an accountant at a steel firm in nearby Kirkland. Co-workers of William said that he was well-liked, and his boss described him as loyal and a good employee. Now, Rose worked as an accounting supervisor at the University of Washington Library. Now, her co-workers said that she was friendly and outgoing. Classmates of Julia, who was a senior at Bellevue High School, described her as sweet, shy girl, She was just a kid kind of thing. They said that Julia had been excited about her recent acceptance to Central Washington University. Yeah, I almost got a little tongue-tied right there. Now, Kim had graduated from the same high school that Julie had attended. I believe it was a few years prior. Now, the high school counselor at Bellevue said that there was a bit of tension between Kim and her parents over the last few years, especially her last year of high school. Now, records show that a year prior to the Wilsons' death in 1996, one of their neighbors had placed a domestic disturbance call reporting an argument between Kim and her parents. So, yeah, they didn't have a
mind your own business, people.
Yeah. So, Kimberly was described as having basically being a strong-willed, independent person who marched to the beat of a different drum, kind of thing.
I've been told I march to the beat of my own drum.
You do.
Yeah, tone deaf drummer.
No. I can believe it. And
like, that guy's got no rhythm. We need to get you a new drummer.
Yeah. I'll attest to the poor rhythm, babe. We're both terrible dancers. Now, recently she had joined AmeriCorps. AmeriCorps. Yeah, which was that President Clinton's national service program. And had been in San Diego for basic training before coming home for the holidays.
It sounds like such a bad thing I would never want to do.
Yeah, it's actually like not a good program. Like it's supposed to teach them. So instead of like going to a college, it's supposed to give you real life experience.
It's like a Job Corps type thing?
Yeah. That's pretty much what it is.
So, you know, after they did a study on the U.S. Job Corps, which I believe still exists, they found out that attending the Job Corps made you less hireable.
Huh.
That the results of spending all the money on the job.
Now, the Bellevue police had been called to the Wilson home less than a week before the murders on December 28th, 1996. And that was that domestic disturbance call that I referenced a little bit ago. And that was a dispute that became heated between Kimberly and her parents. Now, I'm not sure exactly what was the altercation itself. But they did mention that they had been out there a few days before, like right after Christmas, before New Year's. Now, the Woodbridge neighborhood was, at this time, very terrified because of these grisly murders that happened, because it's not the kind of area that you would expect something of this magnitude to happen in.
Just the whole family gone?
Yeah. Like, an entire family annihilated. Like, it's crazy. Now, and what made it even scarier, the neighbors said, was that because the police had no idea or suspects or motive for anything. Like, they didn't have anything, so it was even scarier.
So, yeah, because it could just been random, and you could be next.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people were afraid of. Now, the autopsies revealed that Kimberly had indeed been strangled with the rope found around her neck. She also had been kicked or stomped on with enough force to break 3 of her ribs and injure her kidneys and spleen. Now, there was no evidence of sexual assault, so I don't know if that's... you know what? I'm going to take that as a positive, you know. Now, William, Rose, and Julia Wilson, they had, like I said, been stabbed and beaten. So they were stabbed in the neck and beaten on at their heads. There was no weapon found in the house or yard. Now, the detectives continued to interview the family, friends, and acquaintances of the Wilson family. And they learned some lifestyle stuff for Kimberly and her friends.
What's that supposed to mean? She gay?
No. So she was friends with people that lived the, as they put it, the Gothic lifestyle, which this is where the news reporting gets kind of funny. Not funny like in the...
Well, you had like the Marilyn Manson kids.
Yeah.
Right? So that would be...
The goth kids.
Okay, so these were not those type of kids. They weren't into industrial metal and like rave music.
No.
Okay.
So these goth kids...
Is this the seedy underground?
Yes, this is seedy underground. Wait until I get into this, okay? So the goth lifestyle, as they referred to it, focused on gloom and death. Like, well, yeah. Okay, so the goth lifestyle, or you know, that whole thing, it focuses on like Victorian era,
like steampunk, before steampunk was steampunk.
So I mean, yeah, so there is a certain element of that, because the Victorian people were very... Edwardian and Victorian people were very into death. Like, because it was something that was inescapable, and it happened a lot sooner for a lot of people, kind of thing. So it was like prevalent in their lives. Now, the 1997 definition of goths were people who dressed in black clothes and wore dark makeup. Many of them were into role-playing games in which they pretended to be vampires, ghosts, and witches, or fallen angels. like some D&D crap.
So these were just LARPers.
Yeah, so that's what the news was reporting this as, okay? And I can kind of get that, because of how they talked about her friends and the people that they interviewed, for these, okay? So for many, it was just innocent fun, but for others, particularly those with mental or emotional problems, the goth obsession with the dark side of life can lead to suicide or even murder. Yeah. And that was, yeah. Now, when detectives began interviewing Kim's friends, they discovered that Kim was friends with a goth group that hung out at the local Denny's.
That's where all the goths go.
Now, worth noting, Kim was not considered to be a goth, but she did not spend time at this Denny's with these people. Okay, so she associated with a few of the people that, you know, were friends with this group of people, or were in this group of people.
Yeah.
But she didn't hang out with them at this Denny's. She didn't, and was not considered goth.
Come on, people. You got to get a local diner. You can't go with the national chain.
Yeah.
You got to know the localers. Or the,
I think it was because the Denny's was open, like, almost all night.
I guess they also don't live near us, so we're, like, diners are everywhere. 24-hour diners. Yeah,
so, like, there's a couple 24-hour diners around here. Like... Maybe
I remember spending many late nights playing games at a diner.
Yeah, just ordering cups of coffee and
ordering cups of coffee. Yeah, just randomly someone gets hungry.
Random
hungry.
Food. Yeah.
You know, just rolling 10 deep at a table.
Yeah.
You have people coming and going. No one knows who's paying for the check. Yeah.
Yeah. So this group of goths, they called themselves the Saturday Night Denny's Club. Because I guess they were there every Saturday night.
They seem really dark.
And these friends discussed role-playing games with themes of eroticism and death. So...
Oh, you don't say. Kids turn D&D into dirty time. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like it would be, you know, normal. Almost. I don't know. So, several members of the group spoke of the club as being a fun way to rebel against moralism and establish their own identities. Yeah, so they didn't see it as, something bad or dangerous or anything like that. It was just a bunch of good fun to, rebel against your parents. That was it. Now,
And moralism is a real word, apparently. I didn't think that was going to be a real word.
you
I
didn't
looked
think
it
that
up.
was a real word? Oh,
Well, no,
my
I knew it
God.
was a real word, but I didn't think it had. I thought it was more of a technical definition.
Yeah.
But it's more of a colloquialism.
Yeah. Now, however, none of them admitted to ever having considered committing murder. Well, almost all of them. Now,
It's a
members.
shame they didn't ask me, have you ever thought about committing murders? Every day. These people are stupid. Just trying to raise the mean IQ of the planet. Sorry.
That's a terrible terrible idea, babe. Call me before you do anything, and because you got to do it the right way, right? You can't just go and do it. You'll make too many mistakes. Gotta calm down.
Well, that's why I haven't gone
Insane and or ape shit.
Well, no, like, have you ever thought about killing? Tell me someone who hasn't thought about killing someone, and I'll show you a liar.
So, the members of this Saturday night Denny's Club, when they're talking to cops, they say, well, you know what? There's these two guys. They're 17 years old. They're part of our friend group, name of Alex Barvani. Or Baranyi? Yeah. Baranyi. And David Anderson. They talk about committing murder on a weekly basis. So I guess every time that they're with this group, they're talking about it. Like, hey, yeah, and some level of that, I'm sure that these kids just thought it was just shit talking, like you do when you're 17 years old. You do a lot of shit talking. Like, you've done everything, you've been everywhere, you know what life is, kind of thing. So they chalked it up mostly to that. Now, Alex and his best friend David had left home and dropped out of high school together. And they basically moved in with some friends of theirs. Now, from news articles, this is from a news article, okay? So I grabbed a little quote here. I'll have that article listed down in the bio. Now, this is a direct quote from the article. It said, in recent years, Baranyi and Anderson had become followers of so-called Goth or Gothic subculture, in which devotees dressed in black and wear white makeup to give themselves a spectral look. So that is to give you guys an idea of how the media was reporting this local media, how they were reporting this case.
Also, I just looked up a picture of these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Goth is the last thing I would do to describe how their looks.
Oh yeah, wait until we get into this, okay? So Alex and David, they dressed in all black clothing and sometimes wore black trench coats. Now, a neighbor of theirs jokingly referred to them as the Blues Brothers, because that's what they looked like to him. The two of them, they enjoyed playing Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games. Now,
by the way, there's a website called Murderpedia.
Yes, I frequently go on there.
Oh, okay. So it's like Wikipedia, but strictly for murders.
Yeah, and they break it down. They have male and female, and then they go alphabetical. And yeah, it's a pretty neat resource. I use that to find articles and stuff. Now, Alex was also a fan of that 90s TV show Highlander. Do you remember that show?
Yes.
Yeah. Movies were much better than the series. And I mean, the movies weren't that good, but I did enjoy them. and I like terrible movies. So, now that is a TV series. For all of you that don't know, it started off as a movie, became a television series about an immortal sword wielding hero. Okay, yeah. So he's like a Highlander, of course. So you got like kilts and whatnot going on. And it takes place in modern day, but there's like a flip flop back and forth. But you get the point, right? So friends said that Alex grew out his hair and started wearing it in a ponytail to emulate the star of the Highlander TV show, who was like, I guess, his idol at this time.
It's like Doctor Who meets The Last Samurai.
Yeah, except there's no traveling back and forth in time, whereas,
you just transport.
Straight linear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, by he, I mean Alex, owned quite a big sword collection, and often talked about death. Now,
see, now what? They're part of the Mall Ninjas.
Yeah, they would be the mall ninjas, the guys like, yeah,
who have a sword collection.
Yeah. Now this is a quote from Dawn.
It's just
Kainchi?
Dawn. I wouldn't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, so she said, sometimes I thought he might be sort of suicidal, and she's an acquaintance of Alex, and she had filed a complaint against him the year before, after he allegedly beat her up. So that's what she said about him. Now, despite his antisocial appearance, Alex never had any serious brushes with the law until that year. Now, investigators questioned and interviewed both Alex and David at their residence. Now, both claimed to have been at home playing a game on the, video games on the night of the murders. Now, police examined the boys' shoes and compared them with distinctive shoe treads that they found at the crime scene. Now, Alex showed the detectives some brown work boots, and claimed that they were his only pair of shoes. All right. So witnesses.
It sounds like he's lying.
Yeah. So witnesses, and Alex's neighbors, dispute that. They say both boys, had played had played video games, or they had not played video games all night at Alex's house.
Snitches.
Yeah, a close friend of Alex told authorities that he also had another pair of boots, and that brand had a similar tread to the ones found at the crime scene. So they get a search warrant and they search the Wilson household again. Now, detectives discover 2 different kinds of bloody footprints at that house, indicating that at least 2 individuals committed the murders. Now, according to the 3 housemates of the boys, Alex and David left the residence on the night of the murder in a small black pickup truck with a canopy on the back. Now, this description matched the truck that Anderson claimed to have been driving around in that night. So, David Anderson's girlfriend confirmed that David had borrowed her father's truck during that period of time. Now, she said that...
Boy, nobody wanted these kids to get away with it. Just nobody lied for them.
Yeah, no. Nobody lied. It was like... I'm pretty sure that this case moved so quick for the police department, I feel like. Now, she said that David had told her that he had simply sat in a park in the truck that night and early morning. like all night and early morning, just by himself, I guess.
See, sounds like he's cheating on her.
Yeah, I'm like, dude. So if that's what she's thinking, she's like, yeah, I'm just fuck him.
That son of a bitch. He better have murdered them. Don't wait till I get my hands on him. I'm gonna murder him.
Yeah, like. So she's probably a little upset.
Give you protection. You're lucky behind them bars, boy.
It's like I watched a true crime documentary. It was oh my gosh. And it's one of these ones where it's from the detective's point of view, and he's like, "Oh yeah, so I brought this kid's mom in, and she like slaps him upside the head." She's like,
I had to restrain the mother because she was gonna get me in trouble.
He was like, "Oh crap, no, you can't do that, you can't." Yeah, and they had it on video, the whole thing. It was kind of funny.
So, officer, let me get this straight. You let this woman into a room with a vulnerable young man.
It's
my client. Well, sir, it is the defendant's mother, or the victim's mother.
Yeah, the defendant's mother.
No, it'd be the victim because the cop would be on trial for like. Oh. It's like sicking a dog on him, like an innocent person. Like you let that woman right there. Do you see her? Mm-hmm. You let that woman in a room with that child. That's your fault.
Yeah. Now David Anderson's girlfriend noticed that there was very little gas that had been used from the truck during that time. And the distance of approximately 8 blocks separated the park where Kim's body was found and the house where her family was murdered. And oddly enough, I'm guessing that's the park that David said he was at. So, kind of suspicious. Now, the detectives decide to impound the truck. And David, impound the truck that David admitted that he was in possession of the night of the murders. Now, I'm just going to say, if you're going to use a truck after you commit a murder, and it's not your truck, make sure you don't leave evidence. Like, I mean, it should be...
Because those people are going to let the cops search it.
Yeah, because they don't want anything to do with it. So, of course they're going to let the cops search it. Because they're like, I don't want anything to do with this. Just do what you got to do. Now, in the truck, the cops find a cut part of a black t-shirt with the sleeves and a piece of rope. Now, a similar portion of the t-shirt had been recovered from Julia's bedroom. And the rope appeared to match what was found wrapped around Kimberly's neck. Now, Alex told detectives that he had fashioned headgear from the black t-shirt, which he wore into the Wilson house, and that he ended up losing there during his confession. And so the rope matched the rope that strangled Kimberly. Now, a pair of wool socks was also found in the truck. The owner of the truck told detectives that he usually kept extra socks in the truck. So not sure exactly, Now, Alex told the detectives that he wore the socks on his hands during the murders at the Wilsons' residence. I guess so he didn't leave fingerprints. Now, criminalists from the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab found blood on the passenger compartment floor mat of the truck. Now, although they were able to confirm that the blood using a presumptive test found DNA, further DNA tests were unsuccessful in matching it to any particular person or persons. So it could have been that there was more than one sample mixed together, but at this time they didn't have the technology to separate those. Now, according to another witness, Alex and David had compiled a hit list of potential murder victims. Now, that list did include Kimberly Wilson. Now, detectives also learned from a friend of Kimberly's that Kimberly had become aware of David Anderson's plan to commit a murder. So Kimberly spoke with her friend about this plan and said that she intended to confront David and persuade him in an attempt to dissuade him from pursuing it further. So she was going to try to talk him out of committing a murder, which I don't think went very well. Now, during his interview with the detectives, David Anderson stated that he had not seen or spoken with Kimberly for almost a year. However, police discovered that David Anderson's pager number was written on small pieces of paper in her bedroom. They had also found a promissory note signed by David Anderson that was dated June 1996, and the note promised that Kimberly would be paid back $500 by September of 1996. Now, this money was apparently a debt incurred by David during the course of the previous 2 years. So I guess he had borrowed money from her several times and didn't pay her back. So now, Anderson had told several people that he was angry that Kimberly insisted he owed her money and that she was pursuing payment. Now, he told at least one person that he was considering killing Kimberly because of this debt. Now,
if you gotta kill someone over $500, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Just give her the $500 and then just not be your friend anymore. Calm down. No reason to take it this far. Now, a number of photographs of David Anderson had been found in Kimberly's bedroom, and detectives learned that David and Kimberly had dated on and off for several years. Now, shortly before the time of her death, Kimberly had disclosed her homosexuality to several close friends.
Called it. What did I tell you?
Yeah.
I go into these blind, by the way. I don't know what's going on until it happens.
And I try not to give stuff away. And David had complained to one friend that Kimberly had refused to have sex with him. On that occasion, in several subsequent conversations with this friend, David Anderson declared his intent to kill Kimberly. Now, he described a scenario in which Alex would entice Kimberly to accompany him somewhere, and then Anderson would strangle or stab her to death. Which seems to be kind of similar to what happened. So 5 days after speaking with the detectives, they pull Alex in, and he breaks down, is all I can say, during interrogation. So Alex admits to them that he and his accomplice had murdered the Wilsons. When asked why he killed Kim, he told them he simply wanted to kill someone because he was, quote, in a rut. Now, he told authorities that he killed Kim first, strangling her in the park. After Alex realized that Kim might have told her parents that she was going to meet him that night, he decided that they had to die as well. So Alex went to the Wilson house with a baseball bat and a combat knife. He began with Rose Wilson, beat her with a bat, And this woke up her sleeping husband, Bill. When Bill came to his wife's defense, Alex beat and stabbed him to death. Now, he then stabbed Rose with the knife and went upstairs to kill her daughter, Julia. Now, before returning to his home, Alex took a telephone, a CD player, and a VCR from the Wilson house. Now, Alex refused to name his accomplice to the detectives, who was later discovered to be David Anderson. Now, the following interrogations of David Anderson was brought in for another round of questioning. Now, this time, David claimed that he had lied to detectives when he told them that he had been with Alex on the night of the murders. Because Alex just admitted to killing people, so he was like, oh, well, I'm definitely not going to say that. Now, he claimed that on the night of the murders that he had been driving a truck belonging to his girlfriend's father between the cities of Bellevue and Seattle. But, like I said, his girlfriend had noticed that there wasn't a lot of gas missing from when he took it between, they were gone for a while, but there wasn't enough gas missing from the tank to suggest that he had driven to Seattle and back. Now, David Anderson also claimed that he knew Alex had been planning the Wilson's murder for quite a while. Now, he mentioned the friendship between Alex and Kim as his only connection to Kim. Now, 3 people who lived near Alex's residence contradicted David Anderson's statement. They claimed that they saw the 2 boys leave the house together at the same time on the night of the murders. Now, detectives searched the households of both boys and took items Alex had stolen, in addition to some bloody shoes that they found in the house. Now, DNA tests on these items traced back to the Wilson family. Now, experts determined that some of the stains were consistent with David Anderson having been within several feet of Julia when her blood splattered onto his boots. Now, Alex and David were charged with murder in the first degree, and the trial began in October of 1998. Now, the jury selection was halted when the Washington Supreme Court made a ruling that made it easier for defendants to offer a diminished mental capacity defense. Now, considering the new ruling, Alex's attorney refiled a motion to allow the expert testimony of a San Diego-based psychologist who had diagnosed Alex as suffering from bipolar disorder. Which, if you guys, everybody should know what bipolar disorder, but it's basic manic depression that is characterized by mood swings, altering between extreme excitability and withdrawal from people. Now, King County Supreme Court Judge Michael Spearman ruled that that due to the new guidelines, Alex was entitled to pursue a diminished capacity defense, and that in order to do so fairly, the 2 trials had to be severed. So they had to have a separate trial for Alex and one for David because of this. Now, Spearman also ruled that Alex's confession was admissible, but that any reference to an accomplice must be edited out in order not to prejudice the jury pool for David Anderson's case. Now, believing that such a redacted version would wrongly give jurors the impression that Alex committed the murders alone, prosecutors decided not to use the confession at all. Now, prosecutors resumed presenting their case against Alex, linking him with David Anderson, whom they believe had instigated and planned the Kimberly's death. Now, in order to link the two to the murder of Rose, William, and Julia Wilson, they presented the testimony of medical examiners indicating that the victims were killed with a sword and a baseball bat, raising the possibility of more than one attacker. Now, numerous friends and acquaintances of Alex and David testified that the two youths were best friends, frequently acted out goth fantasies, and did role-playing and like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that together. Now, other witnesses recalled how David and Alex had often talked about their desire to murder people with baseball bats and knives. So they're bringing up all of this stuff, right? Now, to bolster the claim that Alex's mental capacity had been diminished by his bipolar disorder at the time of the murders, the defense put on psychologist Karen Frumming on the stand, and her testimony turned out to be among the most chilling of the trial. Okay, so according to her, Alex had never felt better about himself and his prospects than he had than he did at the time right before the killings. Now, the day before the slayings, his boss in a Seattle construction company had complimented his work ethic and had given him a raise. But just as it looked like his life was going to turn around, he got the word from his best friend, David Anderson, that the plan was on. And that plan was the plan to kill Kimberly Wilson. Now, according to Frumming, Alex had been in a deep depression for months and had told his mother that he was considering suicide. He had no plans for the future and found little personal satisfaction outside of work. Now, during this period of depression, Alex became more and more emotionally dependent upon his only friend, which was David Anderson, for whom he would do anything. Now, Frumming testified that Alex told her that during the slayings, he had felt like he was watching himself and didn't think it was real. The psychologist speculated that Alex was incapable of differentiating between role-playing fantasies of swords and sorcerers and the actual killings. She also said that Alex had told her that David Anderson had beaten William and Rose Wilson with the aluminum baseball bat, but that he himself had attacked Julia and strangled Kimberly. Now, Alex's parents were in the courtroom for all of this testimony, and one of the articles described their behavior in the courtroom. So they said his father was kind of fidgety, and his mother just sat there quietly working on her needlework, and she was at that time doing an embroidery of Psalms 23. Do you know what that one is?
No. Oh, let's look it up.
Yeah. It is a one prayer. I believe it's the Though I walk
through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left.
No. No. It's The King James version. No.
It's pretty long.
Yeah. So she was doing a section from that. Now, 3 weeks after the trial began, the jury quickly found Alex guilty of all 4 counts of aggravated first-degree murder. Now, they described Alex's response. They said that he swallowed hard when the verdict was announced, but otherwise showed no reaction. Now, 3 weeks after his trial, uh, we have the start of
23rd Psalm, not 27th. Silly
yeah,
Willie.
it was the 23rd. Now, when after the sentence was
No, the Lord is my shepherd.
yeah, the Lord is my shepherd. That's the one. Now, when they asked Alex if he had anything to say after he received the 4 consecutive life sentences, what he said was, "No, I don't think so." That's it. Now, a week later, he began serving his prison sentence. So he's essentially in prison for life. Now, David Anderson, in this time, has hired and fired several attorneys in order to escape the sentencing portion of his trial. Now, according to the deputy prosecutor, Patty Aches, Kimberly Wilson had once had a crush on David Anderson, even though he was 3 years younger than her. Now, she thought he was cute and fun. Now, David, according to the deputy prosecutor, thought that Kimberly was awkward, unattractive, and lucky to know him. But he did let her associate with him and was not above borrowing money from her. Yeah, so he's a bit of a dick. So Aches told the jury that Anderson was outraged when Kimberly insisted that he repay her the money that she had loaned him. Now he was and there's a quote here from her from one news article. He was furious that she asked him to pay pay this money, and he was filled with hate. He not only wanted to destroy her, but he wanted to destroy everything associated with her. He wanted to destroy her entire family. Now, although much of the case against David paralleled the case against Alex, there were some significant differences. Now, Alex had confessed to the murders and discussed them in detail with Dr. Frumming, whereas David Anderson still denied any involvement in the killings and blaming them all on Alex. Now, this made it necessary for the prosecution to rely more on physical evidence than anything else. Now, a month and a half later, David Anderson was also sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. Now, since that time, the state declared juvenile sentences to juveniles being sentenced to life without the eligibility for parole had to be reviewed for a chance of parole. So any teen, juvenile or teenager that had received a death or a life in prison sentence without parole, they had to have be able to have a chance at parole.
Babe.
Yes.
They just delayed the release of my car.
Oh.
I gotta wait even longer.
Yeah. So that is everything that I have for this case. As far as I know, both of these guys are still in prison. I kind of feel bad for Alex because it sounds like he had a lot of mental issues that left him to being very suggestible and vulnerable to a psychopath. And that psychopath would be
Mr. Anderson.
Yes, Mr. David Anderson, who planned the whole thing, which is pretty terrifying. Yeah, and these two guys, they just look normal. I mean, as far as normal goes for like 90s geeky kids, but yeah. So yeah, but I thought this was a really interesting one. What do you think?
Oh yeah, no, I liked it.
Yeah. All right. So do you want to close it out?
Not really.
All right, guys. Thank you
It was
for
a long one.
joining in with us. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to take this long, but we chit-chatted a little longer than normal. So we're going to close this out right here. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode and will join us next week for another riveting episode of Page 3 Killers, Murders That Went Unnoticed. Bye, guys.
Bye.